Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Power On Weekly, hosted by your boy, Irving Legend, and your girl, Allie Mayhem. Nice. Welcome back to Power On Weekly for the week of July 20th through the 26th, and another birthday week, Allie. Josie's birthday, and my grandma's birthday. Yeah.
Grandma's birthday.
Cancer life, cancer babies, or, well,
we had Teresa's birthday last week.
Last week.
Seriously.
Oh yeah, that's true, huh?
Yeah, so many cancers in our circle.
Yeah, seriously. But we're not here to talk about that.
Nah.
We are here to
talk
about the Xbox showcase. But before we get through that, we want to make some announcement, right?
Oh no, that.
Well, not that kind of announcement. No.
That sounds bad.
Yeah. I said on the first episode that I want to do Power On Weekly, where we kind of
it's more community based,
incorporate the community and everything like that. And by the way, I'm love reading your guys' comments. I love responding to them. You guys, your input is really, really good. So I appreciate you guys with that. I want to take it to an even next level as far as like community going and more input from you guys. And what I want to introduce is a question of the week. So what if you're not following us on Twitter already, you should be following us. Link will be down in the description below. Mm-hmm. Follow us on Twitter, and what we're going to do is hopefully on Wednesday or Thursday, we'll be sending out a question of the week. And this question of the week will be a topic that we will just discuss casually between you and I, and then also the community. So we'll ask a question. Go ahead and respond on there for a chance for your response to be talked about here on Power On Weekly and featured on Power On Weekly. Like I said, I really want to make it more community driven, more emphasize on that. So keep an eye on Twitter. We'll be doing weekly questions on there for you to be able to be featured on Power On Weekly.
Yeah, I think each episode we're starting to understand how we want to structure things more. So we feel like we're at a good point to start introducing that part of the episode.
Yeah.
So we're going to start this week. We'll figure out a question. Like I said, like Wednesday or Thursday, we'll put it out there.
Yep.
And then it'll be discussed on the next episode.
Yep. Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on and let's talk about the Xbox showcase. Allie, I just got to say it. Xbox is they're ending the console war. No,
Xbox is dead. No, just kidding.
I'm gonna say right now they're ending the console war, and not for the reasons that you might traditionally think.
Yeah.
Right. If you once somebody says that, everyone thinks that, oh, you automatically think that they had the most amazing showcase and they're gonna beat out PlayStation, but that's not the case. And what I got out of this conference was Game Pass is the future, and we've been saying this forever.
We have. I mean, honestly, I think every single episode we've said this, but like any of our speculation is like 100% like confirmed. Like this was a Xbox Game Pass commercial.
It really was. and that's not bad. That's not bad at all, because the lineup and everything that they showed here is coming to Game Pass. Mm-hmm. And it just it solidifies what we had talked about as far as like what an amazing deal it is, and how Xbox is moving into the next generation. Mm-hmm. You know, like we've said it time and time again. We had Steve last week and we talked about that as well, but they don't really care about competing with Sony. And they've even said it outright. Phil Spencer said it outright that they don't even see them not necessarily as competitors anymore. Their new competitors are Stadia, Amazon, and Google and stuff, because they are moving on to that market, and that market is where they see their business growing.
And they see the future of gaming being more about the content and how you play versus the hardware you play it on.
Yeah. So I want to say, before we get to the actual event, I want to say one more thing that we talked about. That I wish we would have recorded, but I think we can recreate what we said.
I know, I can't remember half of it, but I'm sure it'll get there.
Yeah, so what we said was that I feel like the reason why they're so adamant about Stadia and Google and Amazon being their prime competitor is because if you think about Microsoft, and we've said that Microsoft is very much a software-based company. They do have a giant hand in the streaming service, which was what is it called, the Azure program, right? Or Azure?
Oh, you mean the cloud, the cloud servers? Yeah, Azure.
So that's their Google State, or like that's their like server-based cloud media type stuff, and that's where they're putting all their money and all their resources and all their development into. And once you learn about that and you figured that out, like it makes perfect sense as to why PlayStation really isn't a thing for them, or a competitor for them, because PlayStation is much about the hardware. Sony's always been about hardware. Microsoft's always been about software.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that was kind of the conclusion that I came to after everything. Is when you think about a business model, and you really start to dig. Once you start to dig at Sony and Microsoft past their gaming services, and if you look at them as a company as a whole, Sony is a camera company. They're a TV company. They are a console company. Like, their whole thing, like you said, is manufacturing products and physical hardware. And then when you really start to look at where Xbox is going, it makes sense, and it goes more with what their specialty is, which is services. I mean, they started as the Windows program. That wasn't hardware at all. That's all software. And like you said, like, their big thing as a stockholder, their stock has just gone up and up and up in the past year, and it has nothing to do with Xbox. It has nothing to do with all these other things. It all has to do with their software. And that Azure program has really been a huge success for them, and that is where a majority of their money is coming from. So I think at the end of the day, they probably stepped aside and said, where is our strong suit? Like, the hardware, yes, we have it, we can do it, but we're not going to win that hardware war. We're not going to beat Sony out in this department. And I think the fact that they're moving into where their strength is, and Sony is continuing where their strength is, I think that's why they aren't competitors anymore, because it is. They're technically in two different markets as businesses overall.
Yeah.
Like, they are always going to be competitors in a video game industry, because that's just how it is. But when it comes to their actual companies and their actual focuses, like, they aren't really competitors. And yeah, like, I think Microsoft is seeing, okay, like Stadia and all these other things that are going more that way. And more into these cloud services and gaming as a service. Yeah. And I think they are kind of looking in the right direction for where their actual true competition is. Yeah. Like, it's not about, they're not competing with the hardware anymore. They're competing with the service. Yeah. After, the Zune died out, they knew that they couldn't compete with hardware anymore. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, they have some great computers. Like, we have a Surface and we love it. But, like, at the end of the day, like, we use Sony for our cameras, like, like Sony, Sony has a great console. Sony has great TVs. Like, Sony, their hardware is on, and that's because that's exactly where their focus is. Like, we have a lot more Sony products, hardware, but we use Xbox on it. So it's just, you see their different strengths. And yeah, I mean, the realization of that they aren't competition. Like, I think people have all taken that the wrong way. Yeah. And kind of, I think, like, people who like Sony are taking that as an insult. Like, oh, Microsoft, or Microsoft doesn't think like they're and it's not I think people take it the wrong way. Yeah. There's always the competition there when it comes to your games. There's always the competition there, but they're looking at competition, quote unquote, in a different manner and in a different way, where they're taking their brand and their business. And that goes beyond gaming too. Yeah. Like, when they say Sony isn't our competition, it's not just gaming. Like, I think sometimes people forget that these two companies are so much more than just their gaming industry parts. Yeah. They aren't just gaming industry companies. They are much bigger than that. They offer so much more. Yeah, they're not Nintendo's. That's all they do. So yes, and Nintendo is these guys are Nintendo's competition because of the gaming sense. But, like, Nintendo doesn't have other competition in other departments, I guess, or other realms of their business. Again, just like you said, because Nintendo is only a gaming company. These two are big tech companies that specialize in different things. Yeah. That also have a gaming not department, but like part. Thing. Yeah. Thingamabobber. Can't word. Like dinosaur now? Like dinosaur robot. Oh, okay. So they had their event, and it was about an hour long. Now, I want to talk about the pre-show because I think the normal Xbox showcase was good. Yeah. What bothered me was the pre-show. Yeah, I didn't even. Jeff Keighley, by the way, and I didn't even watch it. But Irving made me watch it because he felt like it was because he wanted to discuss. I kind of wanted to talk about it. So Jeff Keighley, we all know that he's he a big name, blah blah blah. He does the Game Awards show and everything. He's best friends with Hideo Kojima, and he got the opportunity to have the official pre-show where they did show off some exclusives. They showed off
Dragon Quest 11 coming to Xbox with the definitive version of it, an Exo Mecha thing that looked really interesting that isn't coming until like 2021 anyways.
Transformers, the game.
Pretty much, like fall 2021. And they showed off some other stuff, but they also had like YouTubers and content creators, which was fine. But I feel like half of them like didn't even like, they weren't even like, and I'm not saying like get Xbox fanboys, but like the fact that girl's all like, oh yeah, when Halo comes on, I'm just gonna use the bathroom because like I don't give a shit. And it's just like, I have some people who actually like give a fuck. Like I feel like, or we're professional. Like I feel like there was only like a handful of people. Like we talked about Alana Pierce. Like she was the perfect person to have on there because she's unbiased, professional, and knows a lot more about it. And it wasn't just about like, well, feelings.
Her job is gaming news
for
too,
sure.
though.
Yeah.
So like she knows how to talk about this kind of stuff in a good way. Everyone else is like, I play it casually, but the issue was a lot of them were like, oh, I play on PC, and it's like, I mean, yes, I get Game Pass like goes both ways, but it's it was some of it was a little awkward because you just didn't feel the
and I also feel like they and what was really bothering me was the amount of Halo questions that Jeff Keighley was asking, and the more and more and more they kept talking about it, the more I was all like, fuck, they're real. Sorry, they're like. What I was getting from that was like, man, they're really crutching on Halo to carry them. And I was like, please, for the love. I'm like, please, no.
So glad that I didn't watch the pre-show before watching the actual show because I would have felt the exact same way.
Yeah.
And the constant like need to talk about Halo was so forced. I mean, literally at one point they talked about Halo, they showed a game preview, and he didn't even say anything about the game. He literally went, blah, 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 Halo, Halo, Halo. Like, and it was like immediately into asking someone. It was when he talked to Ninja. And it was just so awkward because it was like, not even like, oh yeah, there's that game. Like, it was straight back into Halo where it was like, these games don't matter. The only thing that matters is Halo. And like we talked about on the last one, I don't think Halo is the title to carry anymore. No. And it was a very heavy crutch. Yeah. And it was, very, like, I'm so glad that I didn't watch the pre-show before seeing the actual thing. I would have felt
I wish I didn't because of that. Because, like, going into it and when they started showing off Halo, I felt like I couldn't even get excited anymore. Because then I was like, oh, I'm just going to be a fanboy if I do get excited or something. And it was really... It was a bad taste in my mouth at the fact that, like, they just kept shoehorning it in there. And, like you said, like, he would ask, like, something, and they'd be like, all right, but what does Halo have to do to get an A from you? And it's just like,
it was awkward. And I'm sure it wasn't him. I'm sure it was whoever was producing and running his segments. But yeah, it was awkward. I felt like that whole pre-show was just a hype machine for Halo. And like we've discussed previously, Halo is not I don't think it has the carry potential anymore. So the fact that it just felt like that was what they were leaning on. So like kind of the attitude of some of the content creators I don't necessarily blame because they're like, oh well, I know you're interested in this, but he kept like, what about Halo? Like, are you interested? So that girl like kind of getting an attitude. I didn't like it, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, like if you don't like Halo in there, it's all they're pushing like Halo, Halo, Halo. Like I could see why she kind of got an attitude.
Yeah. No,
I mean, I see both sides. Like, I didn't love how she was acting, but at the same time, like.
But after the pre-show, they did start off with Halo. They start off with a really pretty cinematic, and then they showed like 8 minutes of gameplay.
Yeah.
And I know that like the internet is ripping the art, the direction, or like not the art direction, but like the visuals, like a new one. They're really complaining about like it not looking like a next gen game. Mm-hmm. But from what we saw, I don't really care. Like I really liked what we saw. I like the direction. I feel like what we talked about, where we're like, I want to see something new, and I want something new from them, and like having the open world was the biggest like change in my opinion that I think that is really gonna make this one stand out even more. Beyond that, it being a game and then they're building upon it for the next 10 years.
10-year plan is nice.
And they're saying it's not like a game as a service kind of thing, but it kind of feels like it is. Or at least they'll probably do the Fortnite route where they kind of have like seasons. So they'll have things that happen in a game, and then at the end of that season something will happen, and then like go on and
move on to
like
the next.
This is all speculation, obviously. I have no idea, but that's kind of what I'm getting out of. Like, it's just an ever evolving story that keeps going. So the open world aspect gives me a lot of Breath of the Wild vibes as well, and it really excites me in that sense. And, you know, Halo gunplay has always been great. The sound was like really good, I think. The way the guns were sounding, they sounded really nice. And then just the music, like that little loading screen that they had, and just like the choir singing, it really hit me in the nostalgia feels. And I am excited for Halo Infinite, and I'm excited to see what direction they go with this. But yeah, I want to know your opinion. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I think last episode I said like, oh, like Halo, like I don't really care about the campaign, and it's funny because I really don't.
Yeah.
But then the minute I see a game like you know, we're ripping on Halo a little bit, and then the minute like it comes onto screen and they're running around shooting, and then like you hear the sounds and you see the gunplay, and then I start like fangirling, and I'm like, oh my god, like I don't care about the campaign, but I'm still so excited to like play it. Like, like I guess what I realized is it's like I don't really care about the story. I really don't. But even like playing the campaign, playing the multiplayer, like I'm all like, oh, I'm not a big fangirl. And then the minute I see something new, I just am like, ah, like I just feel it. Like it's and it probably has a lot to do with the sound design has always been so good, and they keep it really cohesive through all the games, which it just like it like triggers something in your brain if you like that franchise. Yeah. Like, and you see the guns and like I don't know, but then it's like, it feels like a rinse and repeat, same villains, same blah, blah, blah. It's like, it feels like something that should get so old and so exhausting. Yet I don't know what it is. Every time I see it, I got really excited. Like, just for like a brief moment, I was like, oh my gosh, it's a new Halo.
Yeah. Well, the villains, speaking of, it's the Banish, which was from Halo 2. And not a lot of people, including myself, I'll say, you know, straight up, experienced Halo 2, but the Banish were a big part of that series. And like, the chieftain, I forget his name, the war chief that we saw at the end, who's like directly talking to Chief, and you as the player, he very menacing, very like the things he was saying was like almost poetic in like a brutal way. Like it was very much like, you know, we took over, we wrecked the UNSC, we you know, we did all this stuff, and like I won't say it was hard because it was easy, and he's like my fight is coming up, and I want this to be my last fight, and like I want you to get strong because then it'll be a good fight, and it'll be, you know, what's it called for him. And just the dialogue and the monologue that he had, like I feel like people just kind of like glanced over it and were staring at his like really weird ugly face, but like the monologue that he gives is so strong, and it sets the tone for what I think this game is going to be. Yeah. Right? In my opinion, I keep going back to like Breath of the Wild because like it's because of the open world and everything, but even like the way that like you can jump into the world, and once you get open into the world, you can literally go to Ganon and try to beat him, but you obviously
won't be strong enough
and stuff like that. But so so I kind of almost get like that vibe too, and like what if you could just go try to like fight him on your own? But no, because of all these things, you know, and it you know, it'd be cool to see something similar like that. Yeah. And I don't want like a rehat, like a exact, you know, what's it called from Breath of the Wild of that, but I think, I don't know, I just think that would be like direction. A cool direction that they would go for. But hey, I'm excited for it. I'm not fanboying as much as I like, you know, thought I would. I think
I'm not, but like, I got excited, but I'm not like I said, that wouldn't be a console seller for me. That wouldn't be like I wouldn't be jumping at just that game. I do see it being a crutch though, and that is a little worrying. Yeah, but it looked good though. I mean, and it's Halo. If it's just one of those things, it's like any of these franchises. Like if you like Halo, then you're still excited. Yeah, you're still like stoked, ready to see what they're gonna do, ready to see where they're gonna go with it. And like I said, like for me, it's like about the multiplayer. How is the multiplayer going to evolve over the next 10 years? Yeah, that's exciting. I'm excited to see the potential because like other 10-year projects you have are Siege. Not that I necessarily think they're going to like add characters and all that, but it's just to see like what Siege started as and like where it's grown. It's nice to see like the idea for me that like Halo, the story might continue to grow. Every year you'll get like more new and like newer and newer things, and then to see how maybe maps are added as multiplayer and all of that. Like I'm excited to see more of that. Right out the gate, it's whatever. Yeah. But knowing that there's this potential over such a long period of time for a game is really, really cool. And like I said, having seen the success of a 10-year project like Siege is, I'm almost more excited for where Halo is going to go. Yeah. Not necessarily where it's starting at or where like all this generational stuff is starting. I think for me, at the end of the day with this Xbox presentation, It was not the most exciting thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess if you look more into the future and see where it has the potential to go, that's where I see the excitement. Is that a bad thing? It could be. I mean, it could be a burden on sales or a burden when you, again, go to the Sony versus Microsoft thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I see the end game, you know? Yeah. I see the long-term goal and dream, and I like that.
I think it's also smart for them to do kind of like build upon the game from a 10-year, for like a 10-year plan. Like the way Siege is and the way like, you know, Destiny is and stuff like that, because it's smart because if you think about it, because it's on Game Pass and it'll be on Game Pass, they're getting $15 from you every month for the next 10 years if you want to keep playing Halo on there, or you can just outright buy it. Like it's either $60 you outright buy it and then you keep getting it, but since it's on Game Pass, people would just stick to Game Pass and like in a way they're almost winning even more, right? Because they don't have to resell you another Halo, a new Halo in the next like 2 or 3 years, because you already have it.
You're consistently paying into it without knowing it, or indirectly, like you're consistently funding those new expansions and those new maps and the new story. Like
because even if you buy just buy Halo at launch, right? Let's just say you buy Halo Infinite at launch, but you still have to have Xbox Gold, and that's $10. So. Like, they're still getting that money from you anyways, so...
You're funding it in some way. And even... Here's the thing. Even if somehow, like, gold disappears, and you do buy the game once, anyone who's on Xbox Game Pass is funding that game for you in the future. Let's say that I only want to own Halo, or, like, 5 games for the whole thing. I don't want the Xbox Game Pass. Well, that's fine, because they're 10 million subscribers. Our subscription members are the ones who are continuing to pay in and are continuing to fund it. Yeah. So it's just like, regardless, it makes sense to have a 10-year game instead of you buying multiple games over the years, because there is that continuing funding coming in for that studio and for all the other studios that are under the Game Pass thing. Yeah. Like I see 15 doesn't seem like very much, but at the end of the day, when those numbers are 10 million every single month, that really adds up, and that really helps to fund all these studios. And I mean, I could definitely see that adding up more than buying 1 or 2 $60, $70 games every year. Yeah. So.
So besides Halo, they showed a ton of other games. A lot of, obviously, all of these first parties. All of these is playable on Game Pass. They started off by showing 3 pretty much back-to-back trailers. Games that were just pretty looking trailers, but no actual gameplay. So State of Decay 3, which I was genuinely surprised, because State of Decay 2 came out like maybe 2 years ago or a year ago. But I am not the biggest State of Decay fan. I know there's like a cult like following for that game. Like
I don't get it.
Like Sneaky loved it, and he was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe there's a State of Decay 3." And I'm just like, "Yeah, me either. Why would they keep this franchise going?"
I know. Remember, he talked us into trying it, and we gave it a solid shot, but
it was too buggy for us. It was too clunky. Like I get the survival aspect of it, and like I think it's cool too, but like. And I'm not saying like visuals are a deal breaker for me, but like it was just so clunky and chunky, and I'm just like, this is not a good fun game.
It wasn't fun. It wasn't. I liked the idea of it. Did not like the implementation.
No, it was not fluid at all. So State of Decay 3, maybe it'll be better, maybe it'll look really good, but
I will say though that I liked where the commercial went, because it was so unnerving.
Oh yeah,
when like that. Like, it was really unnerving to me to like see the dead wolf and then to see the deer eating it, because it was just like, it's that whole juxtaposition, right? Yeah, where you don't expect the prey to be eating the hunter, like. So I will say that was pretty effective, but then I saw it was State of Decay and I was like, oh, never mind. But I just wanted to really point that out, because it was, I don't know, like it's one of those things, like I'm not easily unnerved, but that like made me feel some sort of really weird way because of that juxtaposition. Yeah. So.
And then, like you said, it's State of Decay 3, and you're like, never mind.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
On to the next.
They showed a really, really pretty trailer of Forza Motorsports. And
gorgeous.
It's just Forza Motorsports, by the way. There's
looks
no
real.
like 8, 7, like 9 or anything. It's just Forza Motorsports. Anyways, but yeah, it looked really good. Everything was captured in engine. Take that with a grain of salt or whatever, but it did look really, really good.
They always, Forza, no matter which brand it is, always looks amazing. Like, it's one of those games that makes me wish I enjoyed racing games, just because of how good they look. Like, but it's just I'm not into the style.
No,
it's beautiful.
Yeah, and the Everwild as well. Speaking of another beautiful game, Everwild looked really, really pretty, and I like the art style. It looks great. I have no idea what the game is though, and I kind of wish they would have like touched on it at least. The developer came out and said like, oh, some really nice things. Thanks for the community. We're working real hard, and f COVID, and we're taking it forever to make this. But like I have no idea what that game is. It looks beautiful, but all of these games, by the way, all of them said Xbox Series X and PC. They didn't say anything about Xbox One. So because Phil Spencer has said that like they won't have exclusives for the next like 2 years because all these games are going to be kind of cross-gen. All those games are at least 2 or 3 years out. So we're not going to see State of Decay until 2 years. Forza Motorsport either 2 years, and Everwild in like 2 years too. And that makes me kind of sad because I like I said, I want to know more about Everwild, and I kind of want to.
I do too.
I want to play it, but. Yeah, like Forza Motorsports, that'll take a while, and we have Dirt 5 to hold us over, and even Forza Horizon 4 is getting a Series X update, which is nice. But I noticed that a lot of people have noticed that throughout the week as well. But that again, I just think that they're like 2 years out, and that's why.
That's not great though, because again, it's like, okay, so what are we gonna get over the next 2 years then?
Yeah,
like they need to have more nearly relevant games being announced, not things to push down the future. Like that is again where like a PlayStation 5 is going to be a lot more appealing because you're getting a lot more things within a certain time frame. With a lot of this, it's kind of like, yeah, it's nice, and I know you're not pushing the console per se, but there still needs to be things coming out, and I do understand that.
Well, yes and no, because everything they showed at the PlayStation thing as well, like not a lot of them were coming to launch. Like Spider-Man Miles Morales is the only one that's coming to launch that off the top of my head right now. I don't even think Horizon's coming out at launch. So like, yeah, they've got like big heavy hitters of like first party software.
But when are they coming out?
But yeah, but it's also like, well, when are they? I'll have to look back on that. But like I did for the list that I put together today, like I did put which ones are not coming to Xbox One. So we can assume that they're 2 years out. So
gotcha.
We'll go down for that. For the developers of Life is Strange, I think Don't Nod, whatever. Tell me why. Story interactive driven game, very similar to Life is Strange. So Steve, I know that one's for you, man. He texted me and he's all like, I'm good. He's like, I thought it was great. Tell me why it looks amazing. So it's a really interesting concept where these two, brother and sisters, they go through a traumatic event when they were younger. Either their mom, their stepmom, their adopted mom tries to kill them, and something happens, and they're trying to figure out a mystery. So, I feel like this game is just gonna hit you right in the feels, just like all the other games that they make. So,
yeah,
like again, I will get to playing. I'll play Life is Strange, but maybe after I play Life is Strange, maybe I'll be super hyped for this game. But as of right now, I'm just like, okay, cool. I'm happy that they're making something for the people who are big fans.
Yeah,
I'm happy for fans right now.
Agree.
They're doing an update version for Series X of Ori and the Will of the Wisp. Again, another series that I haven't played. I hear fantastic things about, so I will get around to playing it. And because I watched the stream. I got up early and I streamed it. I was hanging out with Digi, with Josie, Jordan and Sneaky, and Sneaky was like, "Dude, you got to play Ori. It's so good." And so just for you, Sneaky, I'll play Ori as well.
I'd be down to play Ori at some point. Once I feel like getting out of my little bubble.
Your little bubble of just Overwatch.
Yeah, I'm turning into like that old hermit, even in like games where I'm just like, I'm good with this one thing all the time.
Yeah.
But Ori it's always looked great and looked interesting, and someday I'll. Yeah, same.
Someday you'll play Ori, and maybe someday you'll play the Outer Wilds, because you were a fan of Fallout 7, New Vegas.
Yeah,
that was the team who did Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah, I did like New Vegas.
Outer Wilds is coming out with some DLC, which I don't think the DLC is available on Game Pass. The game is available on Game Pass, but
DLC's extra.
The DLC coming in September, Peril of Gorgon, isn't.
I thought at the end they said that everything announced today was playable.
Yeah, you're right.
So I think you're wrong.
Maybe I did. It's just because like at the end that the trailer didn't say anything.
Unless they screwed up somewhere. But I think they said everything was playable. So I think that's incorrect, Irving.
Well, we'll
find out September 9th.
We'll find out. Yeah. And that's done by Obsidian. So
Obsidian is busy.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're very busy with Grounded.
They've got 3 things. They had 3 things back to back.
They had the Peril of Gorgon, Grounded, and Avowed, which we'll get to Avowed in just a bit. But Grounded, that game's actually coming out in next week.
On Game Preview.
Yeah, on Game Preview. So what did you think about Grounded?
That was one of my standouts. But
of the showcase,
I don't know. It's just because it's not a new idea. I literally keep making the joke that it's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the video game. Yeah. If anyone remembers that, am I that old?
Everyone's been saying that. Yeah.
Okay. That's just a really old reference. So that's early 90s or late 80s. But yeah, it's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the game. Mm-hmm. But it looks really good. I liked the whole, when they're showing the building elements, the hunting elements. I'm a big fan of that kind of survival. What would that style be? Survival and building and
I mean, Minecraft or
I'm really
Fortnite, Save the World Fortnite.
Yeah, I'm really into that style of the kind of survival-y games that aren't necessarily horror. I'm not a horror fan, but I like survival-esque games.
So you wouldn't like The Forest, like we talked about.
You know what though? I don't know. That one, I'm intrigued by it, but I hate horror, so
yeah.
But this game is also my own version of horror because I hate bugs.
Yes.
I hate bugs. And Irving is horrified of spiders.
Yeah.
But because Irving had talked about this game previously and he was I couldn't play it because of the spiders. And I was whatever. But then the minute I actually saw the trailer and I saw the big scary bugs, I was literally sitting there getting the heebie-jeebies. I could feel chills down my back, and the ant comes out with its big when it's big, it's even worse, and it's so different. And I don't know. I'm so confused on how to feel about this game now because I like the whole concept. I think it looks cool. It looks fun. It looks interesting. It's the one that kind of piqued my interest. But then every time I see the bugs, I just get I get hella heebie-jeebies, and I don't know. So it's one of those games I'm thankful it's on Game Pass, or it's going to be, so that I can give it a shot, and I didn't spend money on a game that I can't play because I get too scared.
Yes, I feel the exact same way. I mean, I told you about this, and I said, it looked cool until I saw the spiders, and I was like, F this, I'm out. They do have an arachnophobia mode though, so they'll take out all the spiders. But even looking at the stink bug and the ants,
it was they're still scary.
Yeah, they
at that point, why not just keep the spider in? Because it's not. They're all the bugs were actually really I don't know. Seeing them that big, it's scared me.
like you said, I like the concept. The concept is cool. It is really unnerving though. I kind of wish they would have done this concept and even taken the cartoonish art style even further. So then they're
a little less scary.
A little less scary, maybe cute little hands or I don't know, something. But
they're too realistic.
They're cartoony, but they're still realistic.
If there's a roach.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no.
Oh, see, and I think that's what I'm scared of.
You're give me a no roach mode?
I think I'm scared because I'm okay, there's an ant, there's a stink bug. All of them are a little scary to me. But I'm if I run into a freaking roach, it's over. I'm a part of me doesn't even want to start the game because I don't want that to even. I know that is a realistic possibility.
And
I'm so scared of roaches.
It's so strange that
See, I'm getting just thinking about it.
I'll say one more thing, but and then we'll move on. But I just feel this. It's so weird that this game is going for such a lighthearted attitude and thing, but it just without even trying is a horror game to many people, including us. So with that being said, we'll move on from the heebie-jeebies that we're probably experiencing. But the next Obsidian title that they also announced is Avowed, which is also not mentioned for Xbox One. So this is a ways out. So
really quick, I will say anything that didn't give us a lot of gameplay information or story elements didn't have Xbox One on them.
Yes.
So it was very clear that they're all very early in development.
Yeah. And Avowed,
which is why I'm having a hard time getting excited for a lot of things they showed.
Yeah. No, you're
included.
You're right. That's very fair to say because although the Avowed trailer looked really cool and was really pretty, and like I think I'm excited for this more than I would be for, like, I've never played Skyrim, and I've talked about why. Like, it's just because Bethesda games are just so fucking buggy. They're so buggy and so janky and like not great that I'm like, this is supposed to be a good game and whatever. But
you're not a fan of Bethesda.
Yeah, I'm really
at the end of the day.
I'm really not. But Avowed looked cool. I like the medieval elements of it is really cool, but also like the Doctor Strange magic stuff that they had was really cool as well. So.
Yeah. It looked cool, but again, not much to go off of, which I don't know. I don't need a ton from a game trailer, but like even like Halo Infinite, it's like, I mean, I was never excited about it. All these games that are like, hey, here's this really pretty thing, but we're not gonna give you really any even story information. It's a little hard to get invested until it gets closer to, I guess, release for me.
Yeah, no, and that's how I feel as well.
Yeah.
There's a game called As Dusk Falls, interactive story-driven game. Really interesting art style. The way that the animations were, or lack thereof, animations was really interesting.
I wasn't a fan.
Yeah.
I didn't really like it.
I like the art style. I think it's cool, but like, yeah.
I don't know. Something about it just felt very like. How do I say this without being mean?
Wow, here we go again.
It felt like very deviant art. Like, if anyone was ever on deviant art, it just felt like amateur art. And it sounds kind of, I know it sounds really mean, but I don't know.
Dang, wow.
And I didn't really like the, like, I don't know. The style didn't call to me, I guess.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Like, I don't need a full animated thing, but I don't know. Something about how it was animated I did not get me excited at all.
Yeah. Well, what did excite me was Hellblade: Senua's Saga. Again, we didn't see any gameplay of this or anything. We basically got shown the same trailer that we got shown for when they first announced it back in December. But they did say that it's taking place in Iceland, and then they're also doing like behind the scenes as like location scouting and everything like that. So
my dream job.
Yeah.
I just want to be a location scouter. I want to be flown out to Iceland.
Yeah.
I want to find all the pretty things. Yeah. And all your little references.
Yeah.
Dream job, man.
That would be. Yeah, so they showed a little bit of that. I really wish they would have showed at least some sort of gameplay, but or like especially in-game and like in-game gameplay. Like and at the end of the day, that's what really lacked of this event was not necessarily just gameplay, but just like showing the full potential of the Xbox Series X, because the amount of like hype that they're building around like the box in general, I haven't really felt that, and I haven't really seen that because they're not showing gameplay of it being pushed to its full potential. Like Motorsport, like Forza is like, okay, whatever, but that's a Forza game. Any racing game is gonna look beautiful on a new hardware. So I think that's just something that really lacked in this, and the reason why a lot of people are kind of upset about it is because they're touting this like huge power that the Xbox has, and they're just not showing it.
We're finally hitting the, I think, effects of the pandemic. And
I mean, and we've been saying it for a while,
but I think it's really starting to show. But what?
I thought you looked up at something. Sorry.
No, I was thinking.
Yeah.
My eyes rolling in the back. But I think it's really starting to show just in the lack of even anything for them to show, like the progress. I think we're really starting to feel the full effects of this, which is sad. I mean, what can we do though?
Yeah. I think the only thing we can do is just understand that and then taper our expectations from there.
Yeah. I think everyone needs to just take a little step down from your normal new generation expectations and just accept that like it's just, we're not going to get as much going forward.
Yeah. Especially
if things are earlier in development or mid development. Like the only thing we're ever going to see anything for is things that are in later development. Like Cyberpunk's a good example. Like it was delayed, but they were far enough in development when all this started that they had a lot that they could show. Yeah. And still and be proud of. So I don't know. It's like I said, it's just difficult because we're all a little disappointed. But we can't be upset. I'm not upset. I get it.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a letdown when, you have these years and years of like hype built up for this new generation again, and then
the gameplay we did see though was Psychonauts. They showed a really trippy trailer with Jack Black serenading us in the background with this really rocking song. But I've never played Psychonauts. I know that our good friend Danette loves Psychonaut, so I hope that she saw this and is as excited. But
I started it. I didn't really get into it, but I like the direction that this one is going. I think it's kind of one of those when I got I borrowed Psychonauts from Danette.
Okay.
And it was I think it was an Xbox One game. So it's old. Like, it's an older game.
The original Xbox.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah. So I think, just like, there's these things you love, and then with time, they maybe don't age well. They don't play as well as you remember. Like we've talked about this before. Like Halo Reach is one of my examples where I love it, but I can't go back to it.
Yeah.
Or Jet Set, can't go back to it, even though I love it. But so for me, I tried to play Psychonauts and I just couldn't quite get into it. So this looks colorful. This looks bright though. And this is definitely one I would give like a second chance for the Psychonauts franchise, because it looks interesting. It's bright. It's crazy. And I'm sure that the controls are going to be just fabulous.
Yeah. And it's on Game Pass, so you can play it
on Game Pass.
Speaking of Game Pass, what's coming to Game Pass? Exciting news for me. And this is where Allie checks out of the show. Destiny 2 is coming to Game Pass. Now, Destiny has been free to play for a while, okay? But the DLC has never been on there. Stop.
Woo! Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just teasing.
Destiny 2 has been on Game Pass, but Destiny's DLC hasn't been on there. And coming in September, Forsaken and Shadowkeep, which are... Forsaken's a great expansion, and it really saved Destiny 2 the same way Taken King did for Destiny 1. Shadowkeep is a little bit shorter. It's still really good. But both of those DLCs, if you have Game Pass, will be available to you in September. As well as their new DLC coming in November, titled Beyond Light. That's huge. That I'm just going to say that right now. Like beyond being a Destiny fan, that is massive. Because one of the hardest things about Destiny is the barrier of entry. Because of the amount of content that there is and the amount of like other... just like trying to get into the game. It's very overwhelming. Like, I'm trying to teach my cousin Jordan right now, like the ways of Destiny.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm trying to teach my cousin Jordan right now the ways of Destiny, and even he is kind of really overwhelmed. And like, so right now, like being a Game Pass owner, being able to go through Forsaken with him and Shadowkeep with him in seasons of or the what's it called, the Moments of Triumphs, which all the raids and everything in the past are like, up there, that you can get a bunch of stuff from there. It's really fun to play and all that. This is the perfect time for this to go on Game Pass, and then people can play those things before half of that thing goes away because of Beyond Light. For those who don't know, they're getting rid of most of the stuff in the game because it's not being played, and they're replacing it with new stuff that from Destiny 1. So then that new stuff can be played. And it's also going to make the game smaller because it's freaking massive. It was 100 and something gigs for him to download it. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
So that's all coming, and I just think that's a super smart move for Bungie to do. I think it's great for Game Pass players as well, and just Destiny fans in general. I think it's a good thing, except for the people that are also salty that they pre-ordered Beyond Light and now it's on Game Pass, and they're Game Pass holders because they're like, oh, well, crap, I wish I would have just done that. But
that's a little awkward, yeah.
It is a little awkward, but for everybody else, I think it's great. And that's all the Destiny we'll talk about. Sorry.
It's okay. You can talk as long as you want. I just don't have anything to contribute.
Yeah, I know you don't. Stalker 2, another game that we have nothing to contribute about because we didn't even know there was a Stalker 1. It was an open world horror simulator game. It looks interesting. It's Chernobyl, like it takes place in Pripyat, where Chernobyl was and all that. And yeah. Warhammer Darktide looks like a 4-player co-op survival game is what it looks like. Again, no Xbox One. It's only 2021.
Yeah.
Really weird beginning of a commercial, and then it made sense once they announced the game Tetris Effect Connect. Connected. Sorry, not Connect. Yeah. Rest in peace. Tetris Effect is one of the most visually appealing and like fun games to like listen to. and it came out on PlayStation last year, I think.
Yeah.
And it's seeing this new multiplayer mode into it was really interesting because you have every player has their own individual one, and then at some point they all turn into one. So then you can put your Tetris pieces in everybody else's like boards, and I just think it's really interesting. The music sounds amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited for that. I think that's gonna be really cool, and again, coming to Game Pass. So
I'm casual. I could dig some Tetris.
Yeah.
I'm about trying it.
And I think this will be a fun game too, because like if you with the Xbox xCloud service, you can just like on the go play Tetris Effect, jam it out with your music, in between. Like me, like I talked to Steve, like in that awkward amount of time where
you're out. You're out on the field.
On the field, yeah.
Yeah.
The Gunk was announced, a very interesting name for a very interesting looking game that I don't really like meh about,
Yeah.
But,
No real opinion.
Yeah. It's made by the developers of SteamWorld Dig or something like that. And again, another game that but for those who like those games and everything, that's something new for you. What I do like is The Medium. The Medium, psychological horror game that you can jump between realities. And I know I talked about this with you, but I think this is a really interesting concept because it reminds me a lot of the I forget the name of the mission in Titanfall 2, but there's a mission in Titanfall 2 where you jump between the past and like the present. And it's a really, really interesting puzzle mechanic as to traverse through the level, because there might be a barricade in front of you in one section, but when you go back in time, it might just be gone. So you go back and forth between that, and it's really, really cool. Not saying that this will be like that, but I'd like that element of like, in this reality, it's this, but in the other reality, it's something else. And I also think them showing it side by side and being able to switch between the two realities, if that's a mechanic of the game, it also shows something similar to what like Ratchet and Clank was doing when it was going between dimensions, and just showing the power of the console is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. So you said you almost like had a taste of it when you were playing Titanfall. It kind of gave you a good idea of what the gameplay could be like. So you got excited for that. For me, I'm like, I understood the concept. It sounded interesting, but I guess in my head, I just couldn't really wrap around like what it would translate into as a game. So I wasn't quite as excited, but once you started explaining that, like, it seems really cool. But like I said, so you kind of had like, sometimes it's kind of nice having another game that will remind you of something and it gets you excited for something,
Yeah.
Like, because like I said, having no concept of how that could possibly play, I was kind of like, oh, okay, on to the next,
Yeah.
Like until I kind of understand it more. Like I said, it's sometimes nice to have a reference back.
Because what this game reminds me of, and it's, it has the original composer of Silent Hill, but it's really Silent Hill. And that's kind of why I'm getting excited as well, because,
Silent Hill that mission almost.
Yeah, it does that, but it's like, it's scripted. So it does transition into like, the Silent Hill and then the real world. It transitions between the two. But I feel like if they do this the way I'm thinking they're doing it, you almost have control of when you switch over. So it gives more. It leads to another opportunity of just like a really interesting storytelling, beat for it. And
not everyone's experience would be the same because it's not you transferring into one world.
Yeah.
On your by the story beats, it'd almost be like, okay, it's a puzzle. I have to figure it out. I have to figure out here and there.
Yeah.
And you kind of almost have your own separate experience too, which I think would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, and this is obviously all speculation. I don't know how this game functions, but if it goes that way, it like this, it just kind of like having that like kind of like you said, the Titanfall experience. Like, not saying that this game will have puzzles and that's how you have to do. Maybe they will, maybe it won't. But I just see that concept and you
see the potential.
Yeah,
is what's exciting for you. You see the potential, and it's kind of like the potential plus. It's in relation to a franchise, a horror that you like. Their horror is good. Yeah. So you just kind of you see the potential of what it could be, and that excites you.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's The Medium. Well, I hope we see more of it, and then like this game, and then Scorn too, are two games that I'm really excited for horror type games that are coming to Xbox. So PSO DLC, Phantasy Star Online, some DLC came out. Not really a Phantasy Star Online fan. Like, even though I love anime, another MMO. I just, that's a lot of time that you need to get into.
That's just another old school franchise too that's just been around forever.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember being like literally in elementary school and having friends talk about it. All the rich friends who didn't have dial-up and like who could afford to play computer game. Yeah.
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 So again, PSO is PSO, but there you go. Some DLC for you guys and coming to Game Pass. Crossfire X, they have story gameplay. Now, Crossfire X is a Korean-made first-person shooter that is only multiplayer, but I guess now they're doing a story gameplay campaign.
Who would have thunk?
I think it's free to play too. So there you go, Crossfire X. They're also, like I said, they're updating Gears of War 5, Forza Horizon 4, Sea of Thieves. So they're updating those for Series X. And with
you're getting an enhanced version.
Enhanced version, and with smart delivery, you don't even have to buy them again. It's just there. You know? And plus, if you have Game Pass, you already have it anyway. So that's great because Forza Horizon 4 is an amazing game. Now I want them to do what they're doing with Destiny, where they add the DLC of Forza Horizon 4 into Game Pass. Because I want to go to that Drift Island, and I also want to play the Lego DLC as well.
But you don't want to pay for it.
Yeah, just add it in. I mean, you guys are doing it with Destiny, and that's a third-party developer, so I don't,
Why not?
Yeah. And last but not least, the biggest unkept secret of this.
They sure tried.
Of this show.
They sure tried.
Is Fable.
Yeah.
Again, they only showed a funny, pretty trailer.
As we suspected, it's probably very early in development. I think we mentioned that last time we were talking about the rumors that we didn't think it was, too late into development. And I feel like that confirmed that.
Yes.
But I mean, I don't think we really need to go into Fable too much,
no,
because they didn't really show very much to get too excited about. Just announce that it's happening. Playground is doing it.
Yeah.
Like I said, like I'm a fan. I'm a fan, not a huge fan. I don't think I ever actually even finished any of the Fable games I started.
Yeah.
But I did play them. I liked their story mechanics. I liked where they were going. So to see a new one, I'll play it.
Yeah.
I know some people are freaking stoked because it's another one of those franchises that just like the people who love it freaking love it. Like they have it has a following.
I wonder if Peter Molyneux is gonna join. He's not in jail, guys. He's not in jail.
Right.
I had to Google it. Yeah.
I saw a little thing. Just kidding. He's not.
Yeah.
Let's clear up that misconception from a few episodes ago. We were wrong. He was wrong.
Yeah. Like he just said, like Fable's been a beloved franchise for a handful of people who grew up with Xbox, the original Xbox and everything. So it's good to see a return from the franchise that people love.
Without the baggage.
Yeah, without the baggage, with a studio who is world renowned for their world building and just their like
they moved it into good hands.
Their weather effect in Forza Horizon 4 is so good. So like I have high hopes for it. But I also really hope that they're not pushing Forza Horizon 5 because of this, because I would love another Forza. But anyways, that's all the games that they announced.
Yeah.
And like I said at the top of the show, I think this was more of a confirmation for me that Game Pass is the way forward for Xbox, and they are more focused on Game Pass than they are about hardware. And even if Series X doesn't sell a lot from the get-go, the fact that people still have original Xbox Ones and a PC that can play all these games, that's great. I saw a tweet earlier today that was like, some like, it was like a conversation, and it was some guy, and it was like, F Xbox, I'm gonna play all the Xbox game on my PC, and then it's like the gif, like Phil Spencer, like, yes, yeah, play it on PC, because regardless, they're winning.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter anymore, and they just got that. They're like, the new console's here when you're ready.
Yeah.
Until then.
Yeah. Enjoy.
Buy our subscription.
Yeah. And again, at the end, it just solidifies what we've been talking about for the past, like, I feel like the past 3 podcasts have just been Xbox podcasts. I know. Which I'm sorry. We'll talk about other stuff later, but.
Well, it has been kind of a slow month with, again, all the delays, all the lack of anyone being able to show anything. And like, I mean, Xbox has just been pumping out stuff. And
news. And
it may not be the most exciting news, but I think it's been good for conversation.
I think so too, because I like speculating, and I like also being right on speculations. Those are two things that I like. Yes. Now, I wanted to ask this for this week's first question of the week, but we didn't get a chance to tweet it out or anything. But
we hadn't really.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this like really late into like this week, so
chat this one. We'll just chat with you guys in the comments about. We want to still hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
But we're not going to talk about it again next week.
Yeah. So, with that being said, what I want to ask, because a lot of people are kind of throwing this around, is not owning the games on Xbox Game Pass a bad thing for you? Does that make you mad? Does that make you upset? Like the fact that like Xbox Game Pass, you pay $15 a month and you can play all these games. You can play Halo, you can play Forza, you can play Gears, but you don't technically own those. Does that make a difference? Does that bother you? What are your thoughts on that? Like,
no.
Right?
No, and here's the thing. Okay. Well, to start with the whole, I'm paying for a service and I don't own a game. It's not like you can't still go out and buy that game.
Yeah.
You can still buy a hard copy of that game. You can still buy a digital copy of that game. So, like, if owning it is really that important to you, it's not like that option is gone. It's still there. You can still do it. So that argument is kind of dumb right off the bat. And then second, we're in a world of subscriptions.
Yeah.
And that's coming from me because I will admittedly say, like, I've always been someone, I'm not really great with the idea of change. I don't like change. I'm a very, like, I need security in certain things. And that even translates into things like subscriptions and, like, having to make those changes from what you're used to. I'm a little, like, resistant to change at the beginning of a lot of things. So, like, I remember 10 years ago when I was still buying CDs, even though I could buy a CD on iTunes.
Yeah.
I remember I was just like, no. Like, I used iTunes to buy a single. That was my logic behind it. I don't like the whole CD. I'm going to buy a single.
Yeah.
Because I only want to spend 99 cents and have that one song. But if I really liked a CD, or even like at the time DVDs, because Netflix was already big by that point, I would go out and I would buy the DVD or I would go and buy the CD because I was very much that person who was like, I like the tangibility. Yeah. I like that this is mine. Like I was really stuck in that mind too. But as the years have gone on, everything is a service and everything is, you know, like has turned into like this digital version. And I realized that, like, again, it still applies. If I really love something so much that I want something tangible, I can still go out and buy that CD. I can still go out and buy that DVD. I can own that tangible thing. Because I do understand too, like as the service comes, maybe you'll lose the accessibility to that.
That is something that does happen.
Yeah. Yes. But at the end of the day, what these services do is it provides you an easy place to go and consume something. It also is an easy place to go and consume something without any liability. Like you can go and listen to a whole CD and freaking love it, or play a game in these cases. Play that game and love that game. But maybe it's a game you weren't willing to spend the full amount on. Maybe it's a game you start and you're like, wow, I'm really glad I didn't spend the money on this. Like, it gives you that freedom for one cost. And I think that is so much more amazing than owning something.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if I love something so much that I want that tangible product and I want to own that, I think as long as there's always still that option, then I'm okay with it. Because I think like a lot of examples we can do are vinyls. Yeah. Some of our favorite, like a lot of your favorite albums, even though you have them on your Spotify, you've gone out and bought as a vinyl. So it's like, I think that's where things might get a little rocky, and those arguments and those people who have those arguments would be a little more valid. But while there's still always that option, you know, and then like if like a game disappears off of Game Pass and you love that game, why wouldn't you go out and just support that developer in that game and just pay for it? Yeah. If it's something you're going to play over and over and over again. Yeah. So I know, I'm sorry, that was really long-winded. Okay. But like I said, like I just feel like I get it because I was that person. I was all about like with my music and stuff, needing to own the music and and then once I really started to embrace these, you know, subscriptions and stuff, like it's just such a deal that I can't be mad at not owning something. And like I said, like it gives me these opportunities to experience things I wouldn't have experienced. I wouldn't have been willing to spend the money. And if I love it, then I'll go and I'll own it if I need to.
Yeah. I am
sorry, that was so long-winded.
No, you're fine. No, you made a lot of really great points, and like I 100% agree with you on that. I think like the biggest argument that people have is because like I don't technically own these games, so they're not mine. And everyone always says like, oh, what if I want to sell this game and all that stuff? And it's like, I look upstairs at our collection of Xbox 360 games and our anime and our DVDs, and I'm just like, what? When am I going to sell these things? Who are going to buy them? Unless they're like collectibles, then
GameStop for like 20 cents.
Yeah, like I'm not going to go to GameStop and sell them. Like I'm going to have them. And then I also have some like nostalgic, like what's it called to them too, where it's like, oh man, like I can't, like Halo 4, like I bought that with my own money. I got that, I got a job. I bought that with my own money. I got the collector's edition of that. Same thing with like Mass Effect 3. I got that. So like I love that. I love seeing that. But as time progresses and as we move to a more digital like media, like consuming like time, it makes perfect sense for this to become a Spotify, a Netflix, subscription service that like consuming your games that way does make sense in that sense, because we're already doing that with other forms of media, so like it doesn't bother me at all. Like it really doesn't. So and like you said, like you can always go and you can buy the game if it's going away from Game Pass. And the good thing about this is that they actually tell you like a week or a month before, these are games that are getting off of Game Pass. And I'm pretty sure that they discount them too on there. So you can just download them and have for like a discounted version, and it's there,
Well, and it's hard to see like, why is there so much pushback on this when there isn't for Spotify and there isn't for Netflix and there isn't for Hulu? And you know what? On top of all this, like we pay for Hulu and we still have commercials.
Yeah.
Like Xbox isn't like, here's a game. Oh, and then 30 minutes into your game.
No, don't give them ideas, Allie. No.
What have you done? No, but you know what I mean? Like, so it's just like, there's not any really like negative to it. And it's not like you can't own something. And like, because too, I had a hard time transitioning into the idea of digital games. Like, remember when we first got our Xboxes, I was like, no, we're gonna go out. I know you can buy them digitally, but like, I was again still stuck in that mindset of like, I want a tangible. I think that's why I'm like, I was that person. Yeah. I think I even said that when we went and bought like our Siege and our Halos. We still have those as physical discs because I was like, well, what if I want to sell it down the road? Yeah. Like, I literally said that. I get it because I was that person. And even having been that person, I can't understand the argument. Because like you said, like, no one wants to buy this stuff anymore. Like, A, it is all digital. B, like when I would go and buy games, I was still paying 70% retail. Yeah. So why am I going to... I would rather just pay 100% retail, get a game I know the disc isn't scratched, it isn't jacked up, because sometimes when I would buy games from like GameStop at still 70% retail, I would get them home and they would be freaking scratched and they wouldn't play. Like I had that happen. In fact, my Call of Duty, when I actually committed to a Call of Duty game to play with the friends, even though I didn't want to play that game, but I wanted to play with my friends. Got the disc on discount, literally can't play it. Yeah. I mean, it's literally sitting up there. It wasn't scratched, but the disc would not work.
It's because GameStop allows their employees to take new games home and play them, so then they can get an understanding of them. And then those are the games that they sell you. Because if you go to GameStop and you try to pick one of the things off the shelf, it's an empty box. Yeah. You have to go to them and they go through a drawer. All those games in there are new, but any of those they could have just picked up at any time and like you played them. Yeah.
But the whole like tangibility of like, oh, I want to sell it. Like the only thing I can see where I can kind of agree with that is just like, again, we go back to like our trip to Japan where they have all of these games from 20, 30, 40 years ago. And I do think that is amazing. Yeah. And I do always think that there will be a place for tangible products. Yeah. But I don't think that that's necessarily in this day and age the answer for everybody. If you're one of those people who are sitting here and saying, well, I want to own it, then go ahead. Like no one's stopping you. Yeah. But to like argue that Game Pass isn't worth it because of that, you can't argue that when there's all these other successful things that you aren't arguing against as well. Like, unless you're out there arguing, well, I want to own my CD and I want to own my DVD. Like, I'm sure there are people that are out there that are like that. But, like, it's not in today's modern age, it's not the answer for everybody. And I think, I think it'll be nice that there will be these tangible products 10, 20, 30 years down the line, maybe when things are harder to get.
Yeah.
But I also don't know that things are going to be harder to get. I feel like these digital libraries are just going to be there forever. Like once it's there, there's going to be access to it.
Yeah.
So I just kind of go back and forth on those arguments. But I mean, I was the like elitist who wanted to own everything, tangibility. And I've definitely moved over to I love the digital subscription. I love the freedom of access to things and the limited barriers money-wise. So
yeah, and I think it also, especially money-wise, when it comes to you and I, is like with the last couple games that we did buy, we had to buy twice because we each had an Xbox, and we
would want to play it together.
Yes, and so like with the just being able to download them and have one thing in game share and even Xbox Live Gold share, like that's so beneficial for us. So I'm glad that we are using that. And
think about people are complaining about tangibility, not owning the game, and I'm like, but it's $15 a month. Like, imagine it just goes back into sometimes with these things that I'm paying for as an adult. I'm like, imagine if you were a teenager or a kid, and like, because I mean, I remember my mom always being like, I can't afford multiple $60 games in a year. You get like 2 or 3 games and that's it. And like, or okay, well, go work for literally 4 hours to pay for that yourself. And it's like, $15 is a minimum wage 2 hours of work for an entire month of unlimited access. Like you barely have to work for that. Or being like, like you'd be like your little $8 an hour job, and you're like, all right, it's a $60 game. I'm gonna be here a full day for one game, and I have 10 games I want to get this month or this year. Like it's just an undeniable deal. And that goes for Netflix, that goes for Spotify, that goes for all of these services. If you want to buy, go ahead, but don't knock it, because it's so worth it.
Definitely. But
so worth it.
I want to know what you guys think. How are you on the owning your game spectrum? Do you like to have physical games? You want them to be yours? Or are you good with are you okay with Game Pass doing this because it's similar to Netflix and Spotify and all that stuff? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and we'll read maybe some of your comments next week.
The last thing I'm just going to add is I always want to see collector's editions, though.
Yes.
I think that's the one mainstay where I understand wanting tangibility,
I also agree with that.
Like that's the one thing. Like, I feel like nowadays, if it's going to be tangible, come on, give me like a collector's edition. Like, if I'm going to spend that money and it's available on a service, give me that extra stuff.
Make a collector's edition where you buy it digitally so that we can play, but still have a physical thing, like a statue or something. But I mean, I 100% agree with you. But again, let me know what you guys think.
Please let us know. We're
curious.
I really want to hear from people who are on the tangible side. Like obviously I want to hear everyone's opinion, but like I'm curious as if maybe there are other arguments that that we didn't discuss
that we're not seeing
or not grasping.
I also want to know what you guys thought overall about the Xbox Showcase event. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think they did good? Do you think they didn't do good? Do you wanted to see more? What was your favorite game that they showed, or what was your biggest surprise? Again,
or your biggest disappointment?
Because that's also a thing. And just let us know. But that's all we have for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's podcast. Thank you once again for joining us, and we will see you guys next week. Take care. Bye.
Wait, is there 2 seconds left?
Yeah.
Sora, come here. In camera?
Yeah.
Bye. Bye.